Hello everyone. Welcome to another stream. Sorry for running a tiny bit late. Of course, you plan a moment to go live and then stuff comes up. So we're working on a town builder game and today I want to refactor the dungeon generator a bit and make it a bit more versatile based on what I did for another game I'm working on. Yes, it will be a short stream, but even a short stream is a stream. And then I'll be taking a break for a couple of weeks before we dive into JS13K. So we are working with Wonderland Engine, and you should try that. And there's a link to a course down in the description. And until the end of August, you get a discount on the course when you use the code Sorskoot40. So make sure to check it out. And with that, I think it's time to go and do some coding. I lost all my stuff. So it has been a bit of a hectic day today, but the last day before taking a few weeks off. And just chill a bit without computers. Anyway, this is the... Let me show the game first. Let's see. Yeah, if you do that there, it fits. So when we run the game, this is the game. Right now, it's just hexagon tiles generated. Last stream we added the grass and the trees. There are two types of trees that are scattered around, and the rocks are rotated. So this is basically what we have now, and eventually you should be able to cut grass, or actually have your people cut grass and build a thriving city, a kingdom, or whatever you want to call it. And the whole idea is to just show a real game, like I would build a commercial game, but this time it's going to be open source. I'm using the medieval hexagon set by Kai. And that way I can keep everything open source. And well, maybe if someday people will actually buy the game or want me to continue working on this game, I don't know, I'll switch to a paid version of that same pack, because the free version does not have a lot of stuff. If you buy it, you get way more. Especially for a game like this, you get ships and little people and those kind of things. But to get started, I think it's enough. I just noticed something weird. Nah, it's just a perspective. It looked like this water is higher up than this water but it's probably because it's oh, whoa, what happened there? It's probably because it's hexagons. If you look at it, like, no, there's no way it would. It goes up and then down again, but you cannot really see it go down, so it looks like it's going up. Well, weird. Anyway, let's go and do some refactoring and rebuilding So this is the dungeon generator of the game I'm working on, House of the Dead. It's actually an old game I've been working on for many years, on and off. And I recently started rebuilding the dungeon generator part. And this works by running through a set of steps through a pipeline. You just add steps to a pipeline, and then at the end you say run the pipeline, and then you get a result. And you just define all these little steps. And you get kind of a flow of things that happen. Need more coffee. So what I want to do is start by just copying over some code, the base classes that are behind all of this, and then go from there. So the main thing would be the pipeline, which is this file, and I'm going to keep it separated from the rest of the file, so if I need to make changes I can copy it back. This is not extruded into a separate project, but it could be. So let's go and add a folder to... I'm already lost here. Oh. That wasn't the math expression. So these have nothing to do with components for Wonderland Engine, so I'm adding them to a class folder, and I'm going to create a, let's call it generator. And in the generator I'm going to add another core, or would that be too generic to have multiple core things? So let's check which files we need. We need the pipeline, the state. We need clonable. I don't think we need nodes, since we have something similar to nodes. And nodes have links. Now I do wonder if we could use nodes, because technically there is nothing blocking this from having 6 neighbors, 6 links instead of 4. We'll see how far we can take this without the nodes and just use the grid, the hexagon grid we have already. Will be a nice challenge for the... let's go here. So we need to have the clonable, the steps, the pipeline, and the step state, I think. And the actual steps are in a different folder. And there's types. Maybe we need something from the types here too. Let's start with these and see. So clonable is just something to let things know it's clonable, and that's for the state. I'm not 100% sure if we really need that right now. It's using the my own RNG class. It's using stuff from steps. And this is step state. So yeah, I think this doesn't need anything specific from other parts. We have that abstract class. Yeah. And then we have a new folder with steps. And these will be implementations of this base class that was here somewhere. Yeah. And this gets a context and and parameters. And if you look at this, for example, Oh, what's going on? What's going on? So I have my phone set to silent and stuff, but only important messages can come through. But then you see that everybody sends important messages. I need to add an AI on top of that. Oh. Let me get some lemonade. Oh. So what we need to do is implement a couple of these base step execute classes, and with that we just go and do things with it. And the great thing is this has a state that is passed around, and that's why that clonable comes in. This state can be cloned. So when you have, so the first step, the first one I just opened, I forgot which one it was, create grid. This is the first step in the node layout thing that, and it doesn't really have any dependencies, but everything else depends on the previous one. So you have create main path, that creates a new result, and then it clones the input state, and then it goes with the clone state. So you always can see when debugging what happened in a specific step. That's the reason I did it like this. But let me show you just this generator in action. I'm opening too many projects. House of the Dead. I think we need floor 1. Hopefully it works. Why is it waiting? It was just waiting. Okay. So this by itself doesn't do much, although there are all kinds of elements in here. In the past, I used these elements to generate a level, but now I don't. And we get an error. I don't know exactly why we did get. We can check. So everything works all right all day, and then you go do a live stream, and then you get errors, and I have no idea what's going on, why I get the error. I'm just going to build it again. It could be, yeah, I think there might be an issue with me just opening this project in a new version of the editor. And often you have to rebuild all. I actually don't even know if it's really a project like this. I don't want to debug this, so if it doesn't work, no. Okay, it failed to load. It doesn't load the floor for some reason, and things are messed up a little bit. But I can show you the visualizers I wrote here. So every step writes, and now my head is in the way. I'm going to hide me. There we go. So every step in this can be visualized, and that's why I want to have those. This is the tile map. So this actually has 2 states, and just wrote a visualizer per state basically. Now I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to build all the visualizers. But having them there could make debugging a bit easier. I'm talking too much without doing something productive. But I think we're just going to add the steps and then see what happens. So for now, in this current version, we have this hex layout, and that's creating the grid. And instead of just creating the grid, we're going to use that whole state system and go from there. So we say const pipeline is new. And I already forgot the name. Steps pipeline. It's so funny. I always forget what I'm doing when I'm streaming. It's the is this class steps pipeline? Yeah. I wonder why I wanted to give it a... Oh, this is probably because of the rest. I already forgot what I'm doing. There we go. So then we add steps. Add step, blah, blah, blah. And then we do execute. And execute expects an argument for the context. And we get a result. And then based on the result, we do the render. Although, maybe we can even do specific steps for these two. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be possible. Or maybe the cloning. Oh, we don't have to clone it. We can just pass the same object around, like we do here. Maybe just do that. We can always change it later. Yeah. So I think this would be the first step. And we need to have a context. Now let me... I have not documented it at all. So... That is right. That's how I did it. So we need to have a context. And this context... right now doesn't do much. But this can be more. And actually it should not completely be maybe in here. I don't know. We'll keep it for now. Let's drop RNG in there. Doesn't really matter, but now everything is using the same RNG. Yeah, for example, I could use the I could add a context or a what's it called? I thought I needed objects here. Actually, I even don't. It's an object 3D, but it doesn't matter. Maybe we don't. Maybe we can just render everything. If we want to have a parent, for example, we might need to pass something. But okay, first step: create a hexagon grid. Let's call it that. New file. Create hexagon grid.ts. Okay. And now let me quickly have a look at the definition of a thing. And a parameter. You know what? I'm just going to copy this for now, and then we... So we don't have nodes, we don't have a node layout, so, but we don't need that yet, but we... Well, actually, everything except... like this. Let's rename it. Like so, and now we need to rename the parameters. And the size, I have no idea what parameters we need. This could be a parameter. Something we need to pass to the generator is the config. This global config is something we can pass in the context. Probably. Okay. Let's take this piece of code. I think everything will break now. Yeah. So I'm going to switcheroo. Okay. We got an achievement. I need to add stream alerts for these achievements. That would be fun. Well, someday in the near future, we are going to work on those kind of things too. Right. So we have a tile tab. That's something we can use. We don't have the expand. Hexagon tile is something we can import. So this is two things we cannot have. We can say const grid. And then we need to do the expand. Now, eventually we need to somehow keep track of the grid, but... I think the result can hold. What exactly is the result type? It's also a step result. All step results. The last result. It's the last result. So we can just add the grid to the state, I think. So we can say result.state, and then we say set state. And then we can give it a type and a value for that type. So hexagon grid is one of the types. Except I didn't make this clonable. So this will probably break. Because hexagon grid is not clonable. But I think that wouldn't really matter if it would be clonable. Or it's implement extends. Like this. And let's do a console.warning. Not really cloning the grid. I'm probably going to change this, but return this, yeah. So we're not really cloning the grid, but we need to have a clone for now. I don't want to really change it. I kind of like that this is that it's limited. I cannot drop everything into the state. It has to be some kind of state thing. Right. So let's add a number here. Public number size number. And let's make this 20. So that will be this value. So this is parameters.size. And then we need to have that expand. Now I wonder. Yeah, this is using that noise scale. This is actually generating the set. So maybe we should remove this from here. Now this will be tricky if we at some point going to generate a larger level or a different type of level. I don't know. For now, we do this. Is it recursive? It's not recursive. So we technically can just pass in the grid. It's passing itself in where layer is. An array of tiles. Yeah, let's do it like this. So then we can just remove all of this. So now it's just grid get tile. Math F is something we can import. And here we do grid. So this modifies the grid and adds the new tiles or something. Oh, noise is something we can import. So we need to add the global config, but I think we should add that to the context. So let's go here. I think maybe we should just add this object. Context.config is this config. It's not there, but we can add it. This is weird. We need to do it differently. It doesn't format for some reason. Now it, well, no. Did I disable my... I disabled the format on save for some properties, but not TypeScript. No, TypeScript format on save is true. Oh, maybe it's because of the error. So this has to be a type, probably. Let's just AI our way out of this. Let's do... No, not agent, edit. What is this? Warning. Oh, I have too many tools enabled. Let's do an edit. Can you extract a TS type from the selected config? I'm lazy. I mean, this is not hard to do by hand. It is just typing stuff. But now we have a config. We have a config type. Now we need to export this. And I'm going to move this to the types folder. I don't have a types folder yet. New folder. Types. Global config.ts export blah de blah. Not too hard. Damn it. Clicking is harder than copy pasting. Okay. Let's move you out of the way. What we wanted to do is go in, well, to this and just say we need to give this default settings, I think. Please add a comment. There we go. Thank you. We add a constructor. We're not going to add much in here, but we do. I think these are the same values. Technically, we could even remove this here now, from here now. From here. Or do I hijack this in other places? This is all in the comments. So that can be context. Flatten neighbors is going away. And that's it. Yeah, so I can pretty easily just move that out of the way. Now there is a way. Actually, I want to do it like this. Only pass in the values I want to change. And now I need to think really hard how to do that. I think if we just make this partial, all the settings are in there. But now, because it's partial, we don't have to pass in every value anymore. We can just pass in one. Well, we still keep the IntelliSense. The downside of this, I think, is that now nothing is required anymore. And that's because I did it like this. Something that would be better, I think, is doing it like this. I forgot how to do this. Let's add a private config. And make this a public get. No, set. Like this. And we do a public get global config. And then we do this. No. We do this. So we pass it the config, well, yeah, like this. But instead of doing it like that, we drop this stuff in there. That's better. So now, I still have a feeling my formatting is not working. When I save, it should format. It does. I was planning on streaming for an hour, and we're in 40 minutes already, and we're still nowhere. We're creating nice code, that's something. Because now we can set. Well, do we need to change the config? That's the other thing. We can just remove this. We set the config once. I don't think the config is something we need to change ever. We don't want to change it because we can modify the noise scale during running the generator. And we don't want to do that. Okay, let's step it up. So this one is not settable, but now we can just set the config. And if we don't set the RNG, it would be fine too. I think we should make the RNG also an option. Why? I might just add something for that later. RNG, yeah, the random. And then we say this dot random equals random. And we can even remove this now because it's set in the constructor. So this one is... Well, technically we should be able to do this too, right? If I do this, it is not undefined. If I do this, I can just omit it. If I don't want to set anything, I can just leave this away. Yeah. And now if I want to set the RNG to something different, I can do that too. I can do RNG dot from seed, or is it RNG dot from seed? Set seed. If I do 2, I want to have the same level every time. The reason I want to do this is that I can give you in your level a random seed, and I don't have to generate everything. But if I would generate the noise again that is used for generating the level based on that seed, I get the same noise. So if for some reason I want to expand the level, it would just continue. You won't get weird stuff going on because I have that seed. For now, since we don't have any save games, it's fine. Okay, let's add the step. Let's say new create hexagon grid exec. What's wrong with the step? An argument for parameters not provided. What is it doing? Is this how I designed it? Wrong program. So we do... Oh, here I separated it out a little bit. I create the parameters and then do it like this. It's fine. Is this the best way? Probably not. The fun thing about coding is that it doesn't really matter. So now we call this step, and then we get a result. There are some errors here still. We have the global config. This is coming from the context now. So we pass it a new class, but when it's executed, we get an input state if it's there, but this one doesn't have an input, so I added no step input. This is a input for saying that there is no input. And the context. So what I can do is just in here just say, well, this dot context equals context. Let's make it private. And let's just make it so, or are we just going to ignore it? Null check or ignoring. I mean, it would be really stupid if I would change this, but on the other hand, I just assume I'm not stupid. Famous last words. This dot context dot config dot noise scale. Yeah. And now the II kicks in and says, oh, it's all that stuff. And that's it. So now it should generate the first part of the level. We mark it successful. Yeah. Now we do have errors in steps. Why do we have errors in steps? We have some weird stuff going on here. And we have an error here. Oh, in flatten neighbors. Yeah, the global config doesn't exist anymore. This is going to be the next step. So how do we know this works? We don't right now. So I'm going to add the final step, render the tiles. Let's see, steps, new file, render tiles. Did I call it step? No. Or render grid, probably better. Hexagon grid. I don't know if we're going to render other grids, but now we can just copy a whole bunch of stuff. No, we don't need to import the parameters. Export class. This is render. Oh, render. I thought it was going to say what it was. Do we need to implement something for the parameters? Yes. I think the only reason we need to implement it is that we know what it is and we can kind of limit the input. And this is the implementation of the no step. If there's nothing, if there are no parameters, then we don't need to provide it. But it's still not undefined. We cannot pass in undefined. We have to pass in something. Now we're missing the execute function. So let's just implement that and it throws an exception. Let's change the formatting on this a little bit. And let's do const result is was it a completion result? It's not a completion result, it's a step result. And we have an input this time. An input is the input of the previous step. So this one doesn't have an input. Input. I did this wrong. How can input have incoming results? This has no... This is a mistake. This makes no sense. It kind of indicates that nothing is used, but... that's not correct. This should have just a step input. And then we can say input dot incoming results. And there could be more. But I think there's only one. And we say state dot get state hexagon grid. And we say result dot state so this is a clone thing. And this is going to create a new state and call that clone function that we didn't implement. Which technically means we don't even have to clone it, but we can just do this. Say const grid equals. So now we have the grid. And I wonder what else we need to render the stuff. Render the tiles. I think that's all of that. Result dot completion result success. And this should be fine. Now what are the tiles? Grid, get all tiles. Yeah. Grid is possibly undefined. That is true. So let's just make sure it is. If not grid, return step result. No. New step result. No, it's not a new step result. We say step result. Step result. Lowercase. No, it's result. Thinking is hard. Completion result failure. Result dot. We can give it an error. The error is just a string, right? Yeah. And we say result dot. Well, we don't have to give it a state. So now if it doesn't have a grid, we get an error. It doesn't crash. We can handle it somewhere else. This.tile map. Tile map. Tile map, tile map, tile map. I think that's just an object with a mapping, right? This should be its own object. I mean, this could grow very large. On the other hand, for now, I don't think this is even used anymore. And yeah, we don't even do this. We don't even do that anymore. So I think we can just add it to here from now, for now. Right, more errors. Global config. Oh, resource prefab is an easy one to fix. RNG is... Oh, we need to... Oh, we have the context. It's just we dropped everything in here. This context.config.height scale. Yes. Context.rng .random. Tags is something that's generic. If I import the right tags. No, it's way up more. It's here, this one. Then we have this .grid. I think that's just grid. And then we have the orientations, and orientations is just a random constant. So that should go into utils, I think, or in the roots. Do we have constants somewhere? No. Where do constants go? Is it utils? It's not really utils. I often just drop everything that I don't know what to do with in utils. On the other hand, if we don't need it somewhere else, we can just drop it in here, right? So now let's remove everything we don't need, delete all unused imports. So now we have a second step and we need to add that. So we do pipeline, add step, render grid, step parameters. And this is render. Did I call it step parameters? I didn't call it step parameters. No. There are no parameters. But since there might be, I'm just going to do this. So now, technically, we should be able to render. The fact that we get a castle is interesting. And the fact that we don't get errors is also that's also interesting. Classes, generators, steps, render hexagon grid. Let's drop a breakpoint here. It could be that we don't get any tiles. See, we have only one tile. So the problem lies in this piece of code. Grid, hexagon grid. I wonder if we go here. It is 20. Interesting. Why don't we get... We get a grid and we get tiles. We get one tile. That's the castle. And we pass in the grid. And then we return. Why do we immediately return? We do get in here. We have that one tile. We check the neighbors. Which is kind of interesting. Oh, it has a neighbor. It doesn't have a neighbor. Why doesn't it have neighbors? I mean, it creates something here, right? Now, what did I miss? Technically, all I did was creating this. I just moved it over here. So why would it be empty now? Why would it be empty now? Although there is something that now that I'm looking at it, I don't fully understand anymore. Because it gets a tile, but there are no tiles. So how could this ever have worked? Did I remove an exclamation mark? Was it not? I mean, that's probably the only way, right? Flatten neighbors, expand. See, I removed this one tiny exclamation mark. Yeah. So if there's no tile, if there is a tile, we skip the neighbor. If there's no tile, we render the neighbor. And that's how it should work. And it works. Now, you might wonder why it's floating, and that's because we didn't have the step that fixes the area around the castle. So I hard-coded in that the castle starts at this location, 0, 0, and then we have a step that, well, raises the area around it. But I think it would be easy to add that. Oh, we're over an hour already. Let's push on a tiny bit more. Because we need to add 2 more steps. Flatten. And we have an add trees, but that also adds rocks. So we need to add, we're going to speed up a little bit. We're going to add 2 steps at once. Steps. New file. This is the flatten around castle.ts. And we do a new file at resources.ts. Okay. And then we pick this, just copy it for now, flatten around castle. We don't need, we'll see what we need. This is flatten around castle exec, and this is the flatten around castle castle, yeah. Parameters. That's what I typed, right? Right. So then we have export class extend step parameters. That's fine. And this one needs to implement the abstract class. And now to make it easier, we're going to do this. We're going to rename this to add resources. And then I think AI will do the rest. Why doesn't it work? Oh, we have not added anything. And the comment doesn't make any sense, but that's because we copied. And I don't think it even makes sense for the very first one. So let's remove it. Now, to get this to work, we're going to go into this one. Flatten around the castle. It's a tricky one, because this has 2 parameters that we need to pass in. We don't have. Is this the one? Yeah. So this is the flatten around the castle function. And we need to import some stuff. Now I wonder. Let's grab a few pieces we need anyway. Let's take this piece and then we say return result. We're almost there. We can say this flatten grid tile parameters. No, that's not correct. Start elevation would be a nice one for the parameters. So we drop that in. And we need to have the castle. And I think, if I remember correctly, I have been smart around it. And if not, we need to add it. So we have the tags. Castle is a tag. And I think I can get the tiles with a specific tag. And I actually going to, since there is only one castle, get tile with tag. It's going to do this, or undefined. And that's going to return the first one. No, it's going to actually call tiles. It's going to call the other one. from... What an interesting construction. I'm just a bit confused what it's doing here. I would not have implemented like this. So we create an array from the result now. Return the first element if there, but we always return the first element. But if this doesn't exist, if this is undefined, we create an empty array. But we can return undefined. So technically, this would completely be the same as just do this, right? It's either a tag or it's undefined. Oh, it came from this code. Here it needs to return an array or an empty array if there is nothing. And here it's undefined. But now I just can I can get one tag and just get the first one. So I can say tags.getTile with tag castle. And we force it in. This should be working, right? No, wait. Why is it returning a string? Oh, wait. It's returning a string, but that string, this is the ID. Yeah, const castle tile ID. There has to be a castle, and then we can get the tile based on the ID. Don't? By ID. And then we drop in the castle tile. Yeah, and we just force it in. We flatten the neighbors. Now, to do this, we don't have... Oh, we need to import lerp. That's fine. We need to import easing. We don't have this grid. So we're going to pass this in again as a parameter. I'm not really a fan of doing it that way, but I don't know a better way right now. So hexagon grid, and we have a grid here. And then we say... we have an incoming one, we do the grid thing. I don't think we need to, we have to update it actually right now. Then we have the global config, and this is the context dot, we don't have that context here. We need to save it. Maybe at some point context should just be a thing in the base exec. I mean, context is always there. It should always be there. I want this to be private. Did I make it private? I didn't make it private. Now it's private. And now we can say this dot context dot config. I forgot the config here, yeah. Right, so now this should flatten. And then we have the add resources one. I'm just going to go into here. And copy, well, everything. And then remove this little piece. I don't think this one needs adds empty tiles. No, we're not adding empty tiles. So this adds trees, and it just takes everything. We can remove this one. We drop this in here. We say, well, yeah. Now we don't have this grid. We have a grid. We have a noise. We have a context.config. Yes, replace them all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. AI. And done. Do we need to... Oh, we need to do one more thing in the result here. Result.completion result is success. If we don't add this, it will fail. If everything goes wrong, if this exits early or whatever happens, it will be faulty, failing by default. So now we have the add resource. Did I miss something here? I think it's the old one. Why is it here? Do we need parameters for this? No. Cool. Let's remove some unused imports. Save. Let's refresh, see if it runs. And what it does, I think it... Oh, yeah. I'm stupid. If you don't add it as a step, nothing will happen. So this is the flatten. Around castle, and then that one. And then it needs to import. Oh wait, this is false. This is false. It's incorrect. There's a bug here. No. Why? Render hexagon grid parameters. That's what it's called, right? Render hexagon grid. Create hexagon grid. Render hexagon grid. Is there a no parameters? No step parameters. I think I can even... is new. So now we can just omit. So it has to have a type, but now we can just omit it. It doesn't have any parameters. It needs to have it here, but we can even remove the class now. It's a bit better. If there are no parameters, we don't need to provide it parameters. For flattening, we have no parameters. And render, we didn't. The hexagon grid, we did. And we have a add resources exec. And I don't think this one has parameters. Also, so this is no step parameters. So it's not undefined, it's a type, but it's because it is typed. Now we're almost there. Something is wrong. One, we have way too many trees. And the whole castle is gone. So I probably did something wrong. As I always do. If we remove this add resources step, now I wonder why the castle is gone. Let's check if we have an error. We don't. I do have some warnings, but nothing that's unusual. Interesting. Why is my castle gone when I flatten it? What did I forget? It could be that I just did this wrong. It is called castle? Castle. Let's fix this and then we can call it a day. So what if I just don't call this? Is this already breaking? The result state. So technically this is not breaking. So here we start flattening. Well, we modify this, right? We didn't set this parameter. We remove the parameter. New flatten around, flat, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there we go. And we need to pass const flat. Typing is hard. Flatten params equals new flatten around parameters. And then we say flatten parameters dot elevation is dot 0.75. We passed that in. So now we still don't execute it because I disabled it. I didn't save the file. It is enabled again. So there we have a start elevation. Start elevation is incorrect. Not sure why. Not sure why, because if I look at my, where is it? Hex grid layout here, the original. Move that out of the way, make it a bit bigger. If you look here at the stuff we removed, flatten neighbors, center.elevation. It is this value. On the other hand, this is a tile. Maybe that's the issue. Wrong project. We're already in the right project. I think I know what's going on. I don't need to have this one. I just need to castle elevation. That's the elevation we need. And now the distance is very small. But I don't think I changed that. Why would that distance be different now? But the distance is something that is in the config. And that config we put right here. Castle flattened distance 2. Now I wonder, are these values different now? Did it change it automatically? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Why would it do that? Stupid AI. Tree noise cancel. That's why we had so many trees. I just changed the config. So it gives a message to never trust AI. And here's why, because it just screws things up. Now it's back. Cool. We worked for an hour and a half and nothing changed. Except the whole generation is now this. Everything, empty tiles. We're not adding empty tiles anymore. The handling of the click. I'm going to leave this here for reference. Do we need anything else? No. So we basically have separated the whole generation of a level out of this, and we have steps. Now in the dungeon generator, I even went so far as building something that could run it from a piece of JSON. Probably don't want to do that here. But we can just add steps, and then to test it and debug things, we can remove steps. And we need the first one and the last one and whatever we do in between. I mean, if we just skip a step, we need to create it and we need to render it, so we need to have at least the first and the last one. But now the castle just floats and we get a random level, and the castle can be on land. It's funny that the first times we tried, the castle was not on the land. Is it different? Oh yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. Funny. We had a couple of tries where the castle was in the water and now it's always... But there we go. We can just do it better. Yeah. With that, I'm going to end the stream on this little screenshot here. Thank you all for watching, hanging out. I will probably not be streaming for a couple of weeks, since I am not going to touch my PC at all. After that, we're going to work on the JS13K game contest. But maybe I can squeeze in some lunch streams to slowly progress on this little game. And with that, I want to thank you all for watching. I lost my stream deck to change scenes. Thank you all for watching. And yeah. See you on the next one in a few weeks. Bye-bye.